We'll continue more of this. Um, I want to read a word to you here. This is us Italians here. Artista di Marta means bullshit artist. And after talking sports now in the Philly area for 3 years, this is the prime example of what you would call Fredo Sirianni. Artista di Marta, bullshit artist. I heard that press conference today, and I got to tell you, the stuff that Marcus Hayes wrote and the stuff that Marcus Hayes, who was on our network yesterday, it was remarkable. And all the stuff that Angelo has been saying for 3 years, I'm going to bang some of this stuff off him. And here he is, the author right here of Loud. You like my word? Artista di Marta, bullshit artist. That's an Italian word. I had to write it down.
Hey, listen, Dan, don't be using that term when you're holding my book up, all right? But it would make a fine Father's Day gift. Think of it. AngeloCataldi.com. I'll personalize it for you.
I love it, Angelo. Angelo, I heard. What's your take on Marcus Hayes and what he's covered the Eagles for four decades? Are you a fan? Not a fan? Does he cover it? What do you think of him?
The last 2 years of my tenure at WIP, he was a regular in-studio host with us twice a week. And here's what I'll tell you about Marcus, because I had many wars with Marcus over the years. That guy is fearless, and his people get him. Oh, you're a hot take guy. It's organic. It's what he is. He thinks big. Like I kind of did the same way that way. Nothing he says without careful consideration and logic and thought and experience. Marcus says, you may not agree with Marcus. God knows I didn't agree with him a third of the time. But he's got a great argument for everything he says. And in the climate we're in now in Philadelphia media, he's a godsend, because he's the one guy you could say is not going to be afraid to say what he wants to say and let whatever else happens. Let the PR department call his bosses and all that other garbage, right? He's not going to back down. He is in keeping with the great legacy of Stan Hochman, Ray Dininger, and the great columnists that worked at the Daily News. I have nothing but the highest regard for Marcus.
Boy, I'll tell you something. I'm so happy to hear you say that, because when I heard him talking, he was echoing the same stuff that you and I had been echoing. And I'm going to start. He started with the owner, and he goes, someone on our network, Xander, asked the question, why do you think that Jeffrey brought Nick back? He goes, because he doesn't like to be wrong. And he was wrong about Chip. And this thing with Nick completely is in the wheelhouse where Jeffrey Lurie doesn't like to be made to look bad. And he does not want anyone to think he made the mistake on moving off of Doug. That's a pretty big take for a guy in the National Enquirer in Philly, where everyone thinks that he's kind of behind the scenes in a way, and that you're hearing a guy say the only reason that guy kept his job is because Chip Kelly, it was residue from that and him being wrong, which means it had nothing to do with coaching.
No. There's two elements here I want you to consider as well. One is Jeff Lurie, in 30 years as the owner of the Eagles, has done nothing but surround himself with yes men. If you do not agree with him, if you do not polish his shoes at least a couple of times a week, if you not tell him how brilliant he is, then you will probably not be there that long. Joe Banner was there the first 17, 18 years because Joe preached the gospel of Jeff Lurie. He may have stopped doing that to some extent, and Lurie needed somebody else who was going to tell him how brilliant he was, and that's where Howie Roseman got promoted. And the other thing is, yes, part of it is he doesn't want to be wrong, no doubt about it. He also doesn't want to have to hire another coach and train him to do whatever the owner and the GM tells him to do. This guy, I'm telling you, when I saw Sirianni there today doing that news conference, Dan,
We'll get to that too.
I said to myself, I would only have one question if I were in the media, and it would be, Nick, why are you here? What is your role? You don't have the offense, you don't have the defense, you don't have the special teams. The analytics decides strategy. What exactly are you there to do? These news conferences? Because I don't think he's doing that great at those either, Dan.
You know what?
What's he doing?
Angelo, how about this? Again, let me go to that then. That question, and I'll continue this over here. But at that press conference today, and I wrote this down here. Here's the Sirianni press conference. Here was the first question asked. Tell you what a bullshit artist this guy is. Simple question was asked to him: this, why are you having a mandatory in your first mandatory mini camp? And you know what he went into? Well, we want the players to feel that, this is what it's going to be like during the season. They want them to get acclimated to this. And here's what I said. Why don't you just fucking tell the guys you wanted to get the bad taste of 23 out of your mouth, and we want to go back to basics, and we want to go back to the things that made us great in 22? Why is that so hard for him to do that? He is the most unqualified head coach in Philadelphia Eagle history in my lifetime behind a microphone. I've never seen anything like it.
When he's answering these questions, he's rehearsing them in the back of his head to see how they're playing to the owner. It's all he cares about. It's a survival mode. You understand? That's all he's in. It's survival mode right now. He has no power. He doesn't do it. I don't know what he does exactly other than these news conferences. So as long as he doesn't screw these up enough so that the owner wants to get rid of him, he'll last another year. But he's not the answer. No one thinks he's the answer. Those players in the locker room know he's not the answer. If he was the answer, the end of last season would not have happened the way it did. He has no idea what he's doing.
How about this? Marcus Hayes says that Nick Sirianni embraces insubordination. And I thought that was, here he goes like this. He goes, well, here's a prime example of it. Nick giving you that lie about Seattle throwing the ball up for trying to get an incompletion, and him coming up with that fairy tale he said. Then the players go, no, we went off script. And from what he found out was that the players were going off script more last year because they weren't believing in what the coaches were putting out there as a game plan.
Yeah.
And Nick was falling on the sword for them instead of standing up and keeping everybody in the guardrails. You're a coach, I'm a player. And so to Marcus's point, he thought that he embraced, instead of being a coach, being more of a coddler to what these guys were doing. That's why you had a frat house last year at the end of the season, and nobody was held accountable.
He's always been a coddler, though, Dan. He just became more of one. He was a coddler from day one. I'm going to tell you the tell here. There's a tell. You're going to get to see something before they ever play a meaningful game this year. He brought back the mini camp this week. He didn't do it last year because they were a Super Bowl team. They didn't need that practice. Let me tell you something. A man I truly, truly, truly love, a man who is a great coach and a part of our show for many years, Dick Vermeil.
Yeah.
He said he knew there was a problem when Nick Sirianni threw away a week of time to work with his team. He said this to us early in the season. He went, I wouldn't have given up that mini camp. That's where I'm going to start to put in what I'm doing, and I'm going to get to know my new players. You don't give that up. But here's the tell. Here's what you're going to watch. They're going to play 3 preseason games. They're garbage. We all know that. Is Nick Sirianni this year going to play his starters at all?
He wouldn't address that today.
No, I know he won't, because the bosses haven't told him yet. That's all it is. You understand? If you're Nick Sirianni, just put it to you this way, Dan, you're coaching for your life right now. You have another bad year, you're done. You're gone.
I'm breaking rules, Angelo, to practice as much as I can.
Right. But here's the thing. It's all or nothing for Nick Sirianni this season. Whether these guys get injured or not should be secondary to having them ready. So you have a good start. If you resume what you did at the end of last season, you're done. They got to play. They got to play on a field where they tackle you, not these stupid combined training camp things with the Patriots, whoever they got. That they need to play, not a lot, enough so that they feel the rhythm of being back in football after 8 months.
Quality reps.
He has not done it one time in 3 years. If he does it this time, he's got more control than I thought, because his bosses have been telling him not to put the players in the line of fire. Well, that's where you're going to tell if he's got any say on what he's doing. If they're not playing at all this year in the preseason again, he is absolutely spineless. He has no power, nothing. He's the ultimate yes man. And he's still going to lose his job at the end of the year.
How about this? Marcus came out and said that, you know, it's crazy when he watches Howie and how everybody circles around Philadelphia giving this guy crowns and gives him the king seat. He's like, you know, what's funny is that Joe Banner's the guy that put the structure in on how they are going to operate and how Jeffrey Lurie was going to do business. And in his opinion, he was more instrumental in that 17 Super Bowl and how they were able to build that thing up structurally than Howie was. And Howie takes full 100% autonomy credit for winning that Super Bowl, even over Doug, he said. So, I mean, do you agree or do you disagree with that?
I don't agree. It's like I said before with Marcus. I don't always agree with him. He's got a strong opinion. I don't agree with him because I'm not an objective judge on this. I despise Joe Banner. I hated him. I mean, he alienated everyone. He screwed over not just the Eagles with his miserly approach to the game. He screwed over other teams. You know, the Flyers wanted to play at the Link, the outdoor game. He held them up until they had to force it into Citizens Bank Park. He was a friend to no one. Do you understand? Here's a quick story for you, Dan. I'm in the hospital. I'm about to get colon surgery. I'm having a partial resection because I had diverticulitis. I'm not at work. I'm in the hospital. I'm about to go in for surgery. They've already got all the markings on me, right? Where they're going to cut and all this stuff. And Rhea calls me in the hospital on my cell phone. And she goes, Joe Banner just got fired. Joe Banner's gone. I'm going in for surgery. They're getting ready to put the anesthesia in my IV. I said, Rhea, get me on. Get me on. I got to savor this moment.
You're laying on the gurney?
Oh, I'm on the gurney. Do you understand? And I went, and what I said, Dan, this will tell you how I feel about Joe Banner. I said, Rhea, Al, all of the people listening right now, know this. If I die on the table, I will have a smile on my face.
Oh my God.
So if you're going to tell me something good about Joe Banner,
hey, we'll move on from that. That is
going to happen.
So here's Angelo Cataldi's laying on the autopsy table, and he's looking over, and he goes, he's got not feeling well, and all of a sudden someone goes, and Rhea, his co-host, hey, Joe Banner died. Get me out of here.
Get me on the line. I got to talk.
Holy cow.
You got to savor the moment.
Holy cow. That is one of
I hated that guy. I still hate him.
Really? Was he that?
He's
so Howie must be like night and day to that guy.
Right. If you want the ultimate definition of weasel, it was Howie. It was Joe Banner. Joe Banner placated no one. Joe Banner was a phony. He was, well, you saw what happened when he went to Cleveland. How'd that go?
Train wreck.
Going nowhere. The guy, and then you know what else? Go see the movie. He was in a football movie with Al Pacino, with Kevin Costner, Draft Day. He's a horrible actor too. Awful. I mean, awful. He ruined the whole film.
Oh, this is too much here.
Horrible.
Man. So let's go over to Fredo's. Let's go back to Fredo's press conference today. Angelo, this is how I know that this is a train wreck this year. So Devontae Smith was asked the question earlier, and he goes, hey, so meshing of the old and the new. And Devontae kind of casually, and I don't think a lot of people picked it up, goes, it's more terminology. It's just going to take time for it to stick. Then Nick was asked, he goes, yeah, I really like those three things that, I told Kellen we can add to the offense. And I went, so wait a minute. You're not changing that offense that you had last year. And if Philadelphia Eagle fans think that this is going to be a new offense under Kellen Moore, this is going to be Nick's offense still with Kellen Moore's influence on it.
I don't think so.
You think it's going to be completely different?
Kellen Moore knows that didn't work. Jalen Hurts, did you see him at the end of the year? He was ready to kill somebody. They're not going to roll that back out. Nick doesn't have the power for that to happen. Before Kellen Moore agreed to come here, Kellen Moore said, I'm going to use my system. I'm going to put it in my way. And if Nick wants to add something, he's trying to play team, part of a team. I'm happy to listen to how Nick does it, but you got to give me the authority. He has the authority. He wouldn't have taken the job, Dan.
There's only two. There's two new coaches on the staff. The rest of them are still Knicks guys.
I know, but they're Knicks guys all in survival mode. So wait,
are they Knicks guys or Howie's guys?
Oh, no, there's some Howie's guys in there for sure. For sure. Remember, Doug Peterson didn't get to pick the assists. And you think Nick's got more power than Doug did? Doug won a Super Bowl. What did this guy win? No, Dan, you're right about one thing. And it's hard to say this. I don't even know if I could say it if I still had a show in Philadelphia. They're going to have a bad year. I'm sure of it. I've known it from the end of last season. And when they kept Sirianni, it's because they're trying to prove to people it was a glitch. It was an aberration, and that they're going to be a terrific team again this year. It's going to be hard for the city to swallow when they're like 1-4.
I want to know what the difference is going to be this year when you had almost basically the same talent that you're bringing back.
Well,
Kellen will be an upgrade, Angelo, because he's got more experience than what the last guy was. But this is also what Marcus said. He thinks that Brian Johnson didn't get a fair shake when he was the offensive coordinator, because he said this. He goes, how could you think that a guy had a fair shake when he out-schemed Vic, when he beat Miami, he beat the Chiefs, he beat the Bills, he beat the Rams, he beat the Bucks. Yeah. Everyone got paid, and there you had an organization that was completely in his way all the time. And get this, you had players going off script. So, how do you look at that? Do you think Brian had a fair shot?
He had a fair shot. He's not a good coach. And furthermore, if Marcus said that while he was on the show with us, I would fire up some tape of the last 7 games and said, show me how brilliant this plan is. Show me what this is. Show me how in the playoffs nobody blocked a blitzer 10 times. That's coaching. You understand? That's coaching. And they didn't do it. And it's something you made one comment that I'm not fully on board with, Dan, when you said they have around the same talent. They don't have Jason Kelce.
Agreed.
Jason Kelce. I was watching, the offensive line coach, Jeff Stoutland, talking about Jason Kelce, and he went, Kelce was more than a player. He was my partner. He was an extra coach. He helped us when we needed to get these guys on board. And they still collapsed in the last 7 games of the season. He's not there now. When they looked out there at the mini camp today and they didn't see Jason Kelce after 13 years, that had to be a shock. Jason Kelce, you can't even begin to calculate the value he had to that team. And he couldn't do anything about what happened at the end of last year.
How about when you combine Fletcher too on that?
Yeah.
So you put the two
and
of them.
Hassan Reddick. Reddick was their best player. They found a way to make him less effective by putting in a scheme where they got him out covering passes, which was just stupid. But yeah, I'm not sure, even though they made some good additions, I'm not going to argue about it. Saquon to me is not going to be that much of a difference maker. I'm sorry, he's
I
not.
agree. I don't, I asked that question too. I go, do you think this guy puts the Eagles over the top to win a
No,
Super Bowl? And nobody thought that he did.
no. So I think if you eliminate Cox and Reddick and Kelsey, those are big names. Cox had the best year he had in 5 years last year.
Six
He
and a half
left
sacks.
when he was still playing well. All right. So you got all these guys that the younger guys are looking to, and now they're not there anymore. Look, I don't think, Dan, I don't think I could say it if I had a show every day, because people would be tuning me out. They would be going, I don't want to hear that guy. That guy's already given up on the season. They haven't even started training camp yet. But I don't see the tea leaves I'm reading are saying 5 wins. They've been saying it to me for a long time now. I don't think they're going to have a good year. I wish they
Angelo,
would.
Here's why people would listen, and here's why people. I've pointed this same thing out as well as you have. I said this. I go, I mean, you're pointing out because what we're pointing out now, it's not like we're trying to validate it in September. It's that they're not pivoting off of what made last year a disaster. You
Exactly.
needed to pivot off that. Instead, I mean, get this. They were so bad at the optics that they were going to fire a coach that been to the playoffs 3 times versus the optics of firing a coach that delivered a Super Bowl for you. That shows you how ass backwards that thought. I mean, you fired Andy Reid with 4 wins at the end of the year. You fired Doug with 4 wins. I guess that's the barometer. If you have 4 wins, you're blown out. And yet those 2 guys are winning in their places where they are now. Shane Steichen's even winning.
They are. You already made the point that is the prevailing point right now, Dan. Lurie didn't want to be wrong. Lurie doesn't want to be wrong. No one ever tells him he's wrong. So now they had this terrible end to the season. I wasn't wrong. Something went away. We'll be all right. We'll make a few fixes and we'll be fine again because I'm a genius. That's the way he thinks. There's nobody there saying to him, you know what, Jeff? Maybe you should pay a little less attention to what's going on the field and run the business. Stay the hell off the field because you really don't know what the hell you're talking about.
What would it take for him to replace Roseman again?
Wow. I think it's the same problem. He's going to bring somebody in who does whatever he tells them. There aren't that many GMs that are any good who would do that. Like this whole thing. There's one dumb thing that was said at the end of the season. It needs to just be put to rest. There isn't a chance in hell Bill Belichick is ever coming to Philadelphia to be the coach of the Eagles. Because Bill Belichick is not listening to the guys upstairs. He's got, 6 rings? He is not listening to a guy with 1. He's not listening to Howie. He's not listening to Lurie. It's not going to happen. And those guys are not going to abdicate their power. They are going to always retain their power. Doesn't matter whether the team does well or not. Jeff Lurie has to know he's the man. And that's it. All dominoes off of that.
Do you think also, too, that they wouldn't pay the 20? Because right now, this is, everyone's like this. How come he didn't take the Atlanta job? How come he's never been? Well, next 2 years, he's making $20 million sitting on the beach up there in Cape Cod. Why would I take a job that's going to get me an opportunity maybe not to have good face? I had a shitty ending in New England. I don't want to add to that narrative. Why don't I just keep my money and wait? So you're saying would the Eagles ever pay the 20 and give the control?
No. They wouldn't pay anyone 20 because the 20 indicates control.
Yes.
When you give a guy that kind of money, you are saying to him, run my football team. No. Well, Sirianni probably gets 3 or 4 million. I don't know what he gets, right? But that isn't the money that says you are running my football team. 20 million is. No, it's never going to happen. They're never going to. When did they bring in? Let's go back to Andy Reid. All right. They brought him in. He was a tight ends coach when they brought him.
Green Bay.
Right? No experience. Then when he left, who'd they bring in next? Chip Kelly? Yep. Chip Kelly was kind of like the flavor of the month in college football.
Buccaneers offered him a job. The Bucs
gave him some power. It blew up. That didn't work. They brought in Doug. He was an assistant. He had only head coach as a high school guy. He had never gone head coach beyond high school. He turned out to be good. Didn't like him. He was pushing back. Get rid of him. Bring in Sirianni. He's got no background as a head coach. Let's see what he does. They're never bringing in a guy who's been proven to be a good head coach because those guys want power.
So never an experience.
No, they haven't. Name me one.
Yeah, no,
Whoever was an experienced coach. Now they're going to go from that to Bill Belichick? No.
Was Ray Rhodes a hire by Jeffrey?
Ray Rhodes, maybe. Again,
because I thought Ray was an assistant in San Fran when he got the job in Philly.
No one had any head coaching experience in the pros and in the NFL who came here and took over for Lurie because Lurie wants to say Lurie is the man and he thinks he's brilliant. He's not.
One last question for you. His involvement on the day-to-day operations of football operations, in your opinion, on a scale of 1 to 10, is what?
Oh, it's 8.
Wow.
When Doug Peterson was there, Dan, every Tuesday he had to meet with the owner. Every Tuesday he had to meet with the owner. Now, what's the owner tell him? How great he did? If they blew a game, he's telling him what he did wrong. He's an 8 because whatever he's not involved in, he's got his yes man, Howie Roseman, involved in it. So if you put the two together, that's 8 out of 10.
Holy cow.
Especially now, you know what? This year might be even 9 with Sirianni being basically a dead man walking.
Wow.
This is why he wants to run the thing. He thinks he's a football sage. He's not.
He knows yachts.
I got to say it one more time. He was born on third base, and he still thinks he hit a triple.
Jesus criminy. Angelo, how's the book going, my friend?
The book is going great. We're getting another push going now for Father's Day. AngeloCataldi.com. I got a blog in there. I talk about the Eagles. I tell you who on the Eagles I want to get rid of. There's a couple of guys I got to get rid of before they even get to training camp.
Hey, real quick, Bradbury. Here's my take on Bradbury.
First one. He's my first one.
Hey, here's that's a great tease too to the blog. By the way, here's my take on Bradbury. The reason so he's going to make $11.2 million this year. You hear what they said? They're going to put him in the slot today. Then they're going to play him over the next couple. If that guy gets hurt, you're on the hook for 11-2.
Yeah.
I say this, Angelo, to your point. I think the reason that Vic has him at OTAs is because of this. They're not quite sure of the young talent yet because of one thing you said.
Yep.
They don't use the exhibition season, those quality reps to figure out what they have at linebacker. And you're going to go in to that game in Brazil not knowing what you have again like you did a year ago.
Watch for that. If they play him, maybe Nick has a little bit of say. And one other thing about injuries in the defensive secondary. It's been windy here in Philly today, Dan. Avante Maddox probably is injured.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. He broke his toothpick.
Say that word for BS again. What's that word?
Here, let me get it again here.
I gotta get this.
Artista Di Marte. That's bullshit artist. I said this is the mantra that should be on the front door of Nick Sirianni's office. It should say Artista Di Marte, bullshit artist.
Perfect.
Angelo, thank you, my friend. Tell your wife hello, and thank you very much for doing this.
Always a pleasure, Dan. Thank you, buddy.
You got it. Our friend Angelo Cataldi. Please make sure you check out his blog, Artista Di Marte. Yeah, I had to write this thing down. I know a little bit of Italian, but I had Artista Di Marte, bullshit artist. Front door, Nick Sirianni's desk. Hey, Xander, we missed some super chats. Let's get those things made up here, man. I want to. Khalid Sills. So you wouldn't let the best coach in NFL history run your program. Yikes. But hey, wait a minute. Khalid, would Jeffrey Lurie let Bill Belichick, in your opinion, have complete control? Do you believe he would let him have complete control? Hey, Steve, you know what I like to say? Isa na badya magul, huh? Isa na rin na badya magul na fango, huh? Yeah, come on, you want to go somewhere with me? A white guy. I ain't a white guy. I'm Italian. Hey, guys, please do me a favor. Hit the like button. Sandra, do we have another super chat? 154 likes. Let's go, folks. Appreciate it, man. Coming up to the top of the hour. Thank you, Steve. Oh, man. Holy cow. Angelo's got 5 wins. Woo, man. Hey, we're going to get into that Saints game. We're going to do that at the top here in a second. Absolutely. Good. Let's see here. That's it. All right. Guys, we really appreciate you guys. Sills is the McAfee percent of that. Twiz, you're on my shit list, man. Give me a break. Best coach in history with Tom Brady. Wait a minute. Look at Mark. Hey, Mark, who's your favorite coach? Mark, who do you think the best coach is in history? Mark, in your opinion, who's the greatest coach in history? What was Lombardi without Starr? Can you tell me? Come on, Mark. Who do you think's the greatest coach? Lombardi. Who was he without Bart Starr? What did he do? What did Noel do without Bradshaw? As a matter of fact, he sucked. Thank you, Manster. Hank Stram. What'd he do without Lynn Dawson? He won with Starr. Oh, what did he do without Starr? What did Shula do without Greasy? Look at Dougie P, man. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl. See, I think that's impressive too. You won with a substitute teacher. That, to me, in my opinion, is a true sign of a great coach. You ain't winning with these signature. When you don't win a Super Bowl with a signature name at quarterback, that tells me a lot who you are a little bit. Like Harbaugh winning with Joe Flacco. Come on now. Right? Little bit there. All right. We are going to reset and we're going to take a look. What do we have here? Oh, yes. We got a bunch of stuff here. We are loaded in this hour, believe it or not. Alfredo Sirianni gives you a lot of content. Plus, we're going to take a look and we'll look at your Week 4 opponent, the New Orleans Saints. Joe Gibbs, Taylor, you win. You could make the argument Joe Gibbs is the greatest coach of all time. Winner of 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks. I mean, that is quite a statement. Congratulations, Taylor. You probably win the argument there with that because he did show you it was more about him. Bill Walsh, what'd he do without Montana? Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.